our recommended.
I think we are good to go, Chair.
Thank you. I'm just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we're all here. I'll call this regular meeting of the Regional Board of the Cathay Regional District to order. It being 6:30. The first item, of course, is the approval of the agenda. The motion is in order. Director McCormick, seconded by Director Dowd. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Opposed? None carried. The minutes of the regular board meeting of April the 28th. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none. In order to adopt, please, Director Brander and Director Dowd. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. We have no delegations, no unfinished business. We have correspondence dated May the 18th from Cathy Brown, Texada Island Nonprofit Seniors Housing Society, regarding a letter of support. What's the pleasure of the board? Director McCormick. Director McCormick, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. Yes, I would move receipt and that a letter of support be sent.
Second.
We do have that as an,
I would like to hear from the corporate officer, please.
I was just going to say that item 11.1 does deal with a letter of support.
Right, it does. And it's the same thing.
Okay, doesn't matter, whichever way it gets there.
Let's take it as 11.1. So you have moved receipt and Director Gisborne has seconded. Is that acceptable?
That is correct, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None carried. Correspondence dated May the 24th from Elle Rosenthal, a Texada Island Nonprofit Senior Society, RIA funding application request. Director McCormick.
Move receipt.
Okay. And seconded by Director Fall. Any further discussion? Hearing none? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? None carried. Chair's report. Well, things are beginning to get back to what we used to call normal. I attended several functions this month, beginning with a very interesting meeting of the Solid Waste Management Plan Advisory Committee, and Director Leishman was there as well. And we'll both remember playing with Lego because it was a run through of a tabletop exercise on our Resource and Recovery Center. And the Lego enters the picture because include on the plan for the R&R, as I call it, we had our trucks and stuff to move, and it was a very interesting exercise because, and this is where the value of a good advisory committee comes in, we had the people who are actually going to operate there tell us what was good and what wasn't. And several issues arose from the people, the ones who will bring in the garbage and the ones who will take it away, etc. It was a really good exercise, and our staff, Ms. Howie and Patrick Devereaux, made lots of notes. And I think we were way ahead of the operation just because we did that little bit of extra work. Director Leishman might have something to say about that later on. Then on the 8th, I went up to the new fire hall, which is now open up in Lund. And there was an open house. But the people got to tour the interior training facility, where we will be training people from several fire departments for entry into houses that are on fire, structures that are on fire, instead of just having to stand outside and pour water on them. And on Friday the 13th of all days, I went to Willingdon Beach because the Minister Malcolmson was telling us about the good news on the complex housing monies coming to both Bella Coola and to Powell River. There were some attempts at questions from the public, which were not answered very well, but the media did get their 2 bits in. And finally, I attended the SIMAC, the Savory Island Marine Advisory Committee, where the subjects included an asset management plan for our wharf over there, and RCMP policing in the summer, which is so far not so hopeful. The local detachment is understaffed. We've already been told that. Plus, it being summer and the weekends are where the problems are, it's always difficult to get the police over there when you need them. And the other big subject, contentious, was pigeons. Somehow a flock of pigeons have made it from the mainland over to Savory Island, and they've taken up residence on our wharf. And the locals and the people who pass through are not happy. Next week, as a matter of fact, I will be attending the annual general meeting of the London Community Society, where the big subject of discussion for the RD is going to be the rebuild of the facility of the center and the borrowing and the consultation with the people who will be approving or not the borrowing. So that's going to be interesting. And that's it for me. I'll turn it over to Director Leishman, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so many meetings I'm looking back going, it's a blur. Yeah, the Solid Waste Management Plan Monitoring Advisory Committee meeting was very interesting, and you covered it very well. Yeah, it was nice to have some city managers and operations guys there to give input into how city trucks would be going in and out of the Resource Recovery Center areas for transferring their materials. And so it was really good to get that feedback. Yeah, really impressed with staff and all the work that's happening on that. So looking forward to that breaking ground pretty quick. And yeah, yesterday I had 8 hours of straight Zoom meetings with 1 15-minute break. So I'm a little bit burnt out today. That was way too much. But one of them sessions yesterday was the coastal flood adaptation strategy session. So that was really good and informative and good to be a part of. I liked how the approach that the consultants are taking on that. Yeah, just like tons of things going on, and it's almost like everything's fast forward because June's coming and then everybody wants to shut down for the summer or something. I don't know, because it seems like I have 5 to 7 meetings every single day almost. So that's all I need to report on. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Director Brander, do you want to pick up the ball?
Sure, Chair. On the 7th, I had the Lang Bay Spring Plant and Craft Sale, where I set up a table all the time and hand out a lot of brochures and answer questions that the constituents have. And so I handed out a lot of information about recycling, fire smart, emergency preparedness, and all the other things that the RD is involved with. It was a beautiful day. Lots of people were in attendance, so a lot of money was raised for the hall. On the 9th, I had library trustees. The library is back up to full capacity with all the furniture back in the public areas. Friends of the library are planning a June book sale, but I don't have any more information yet. Programming is back in full swing. Lots of school tours scheduled before the end of the year. And as we all know, the library trustees voted to request that the city and the QRD submit resolutions to the UBCM requesting that government provide increased and consistent funding for libraries. On the 19th, I attended the second session of the Coastal Flood Adaptation Strategy. It was another informational gathering opportunity for the consultants. They're trying to put together the best plan of action for the entire region. On the 25th, it was a very busy day. I attended, well, for a short time, the number 3 session of the coastal flood adaptation, but unfortunately I had 2 other meetings scheduled in the same block. So I had to go to the Ferry Advisory Committee, which we were preparing an agenda for our May 31st meeting, which will also be a public drop-in. And I also had a special in-camera library trustees meeting, which of course I can't discuss. And then coming up next week, the Ferry Advisory Committee meeting, the public drop-in is at Town Center Hotel, and the drop-in is from 4:45 to 6 o'clock. So that's all I have for the month.
Thank you. Oh, Director McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. Yep. Hi, I'm here. Thank you. Okay, May was a busy month on Texada, certainly one of the busier months we've had for a while. On the 4th was the first meeting of the Texada Garden Club, which I attended, and first meeting in 2 years. So there was a seat exchange and general swap of ideas of what worked well and what didn't. On the 5th was the monthly policing committee meeting, and there was in attendance was Staff Sergeant Wiebe from the RCMP in Powell River, and he gave us a rundown on what to expect. We have only 1 officer on the island at the moment, and he's scheduled to leave in July. So they're hoping that the 2 new officers will be there in time so that at least there'll be a bit of an overlap with the outgoing officer. There was also a bit of a heads up that if our crime rate continues to go down, which it certainly is, we may lose our detachment altogether. So that is something that the RCMP has not made a decision on, and they've promised that they would keep us posted with regard to how that is going. There were also a number of concerns expressed, as they are on an ongoing basis, about maintenance standards of highways and roadways on Texada, that it is the maintenance is not being done according to MOTI's own standards, and that concerns a lot of people. On the 9th was the TICS meeting, Texada Island Community Society, and great news, Sandcastle is going ahead after a 2-year absence. So it's the weekend of the August 13th and 14th. So that is Sandcastle. So come on out and enjoy the sun and the skim boards and the castles and the beer garden and everything else. So TACT had their AGM, Texada Arts, Culture and Tourism Society. And that also did a rundown. There's 2 main events going on this summer. On July 31st is the Fly-In, which is a great air festival at the airport. And we've had the pleasure of having the Fraser Blues, which is a synchronized flying team, which has come most years. They have now retired. So the organizer of the Fly-In, good old Dobie Dobostransky, is working hard to line up another aviation synchronized flying team. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. On the 15th was the Free Chipper Day on Texada, sponsored by our own Fire Smart team. And it was a cloudy, kind of gloomy day. And quite a few people came out, though, and got all that debris that we've been collecting to try to clear away the fire stuff, the potential fire danger that's fallen over the winter. So it was a great chance to get that chipped, and we appreciate that taking place. On the 16th was the Texada Airport Advisory Committee, which met in person for the first time in, again, over a year. So it was great for everyone to see each other and to share, opinions. And the main item on discussion was wildlife fencing. And there will be a recommendation coming to the, Committee of the Whole in June regarding their feelings about that. They believe that it should be not at this time. It should be postponed. So that is the feeling that they expressed. On the 19th, I attended the first session of the Coastal Flood Adaptation Workshop. And on the 24th was the Tourism Powell River monthly board meeting. And their retail sales are just booming. They expect to clear $50,000 by the end of the summer, which is a big return for them. and they're getting a lot of inquiries. So we can expect a very busy tourist season this summer. So thank you, Chair. That's it.
Is that all you did?
Is that enough?
Okay, Director Dowd. Okay, what did I do? I'll just go through some of the high points. I think there's been more meetings in the last month, considering everything than there has been in a very long time. I've attended 3 of the meetings of the coastal flooding and adaptation program, and they've all been really worthwhile. It's been quite a discussion among the people who were there about different strategies and how they might be applied in different places along the coast. So I'm looking forward to number 4, which is coming up before very long. It takes a pretty big chunk out of your day with 3 hours. I was looking at the time of the meetings and thinking that's a long time to spend on a subject, but the time was filled up, and I think it was used to good value. So we'll be looking forward to what comes next. And I attended a meeting of the Supportive Housing Advisory Committee, Citizens Advisory Committee, and that's starting to do what it was intended to do pre-COVID, and it's starting to get communication going between the facility, the people in the facility, and the people in the neighborhood, and local government and first responders and service providers. So it's getting some legs to the committee, and people are listening to each other and talking. One thing that came out of that was just a discussion about the land around the supportive housing, and there was some brushing done by the regional hospital district a couple of years ago, and it was the brush was coming in and replacing it and giving cover to people who might be in the forest there, and the clearing has been done and taking care of a hazard that might come up. What else? I also went to the announcement of the complex care beds for the community, 20 complex care beds, along with the people to provide the services, which is something that the community has been waiting for a long time, but it doesn't complete the issue. There's all kinds of more decisions about where those will be and how they will be spread out through the community, but I think it's pretty positive announcement that there will be more direct care, more actual care that's being given to people who need it in the community. So that's not all I did, but it's what I have to talk about tonight. Good enough, and I thank you. Director Gisborne.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be quick. On the 9th of May, I attended the Liquid Waste Management Liquid Waste Monitoring Committee, where there was something interesting that came up. There's some directional drilling that's been going on with the sewage treatment delivery line. And one of the rumors going around town was that when they were going through Wellington Beach, they hit a rock. We found out at the committee meeting that they actually ran into the opposite problem, where the ground is too soft, where it continually collapses in when they try and pull the directional drill out. So they didn't run into a rock, it was more of soft material. So that was quite interesting to find out that the rumor mill actually had it backwards, which is not surprising. I attended I believe the 3 coastal flood and adaptation workshops that have been mentioned so far, so I won't rehash that. I've also attended the first 2 open mic sessions for the potential name change for the city of Powell River. And as recently as last week, I spoke with multiple concerned residents regarding the proposed Nootka annexation. It seems to be an ever-growing issue, and it will continue to be a matter of concern for residents of Area B. I'm sure there's more, but as you can probably tell, I'm actually rather sick, so I'm not firing on all cylinders. Thank you, Chair.
Well, our sympathies for that. We're rather lonely here in this room, but those who are suffering, I'm sorry, no fun.
Oh, I didn't want to share it, so I'm staying home.
Director Fall.
Thank you, Chair. As elsewhere, things are starting up a bit more on the Skidee, both in terms of groups and events. On May the 20th, the Coastal Invasive Species Committee met to take the next steps towards completing its strategic plan review. And somehow I'm on this working group to help move that forward. So it's a bit more work than initially envisioned, but it's getting there. On May the 22nd, I attended the Lasqueti Island Nature Conservancy AGM. Lots of good projects going on. They have expanded their board and are looking at a very active year. And of course, we're very appreciative of the grant and aid that we maybe will be giving them tonight or confirming. Last Saturday, the False Bay School Parent Advisory Council organized a fundraiser at the school outside, which was very nice after missing the last couple of years. Lots of people showed up for this event, and it was especially nice to enjoy their famous strawberry shortcake. At our finance committee last week, I asked the after our finance committee last week, I asked the Lasqueti community for feedback on the donation to the Red Cross from the Area E Grants and Aid, and also communicated my pledge for a matching personal donation, now done, and that I would be happy to reimburse any taxpayer who disagreed for their proportion or $2, whichever was greater. The Lasqueti email list reaches nearly every full-time and part-time resident. I sent my message before the school fundraiser to also give people an opportunity to give me feedback in person. I'm happy to report that the large majority of the taxpayers that responded supported this, and I'm grateful for the generosity of my community. Of the handful that disagreed, only one took me up on my offer to reimburse and requested that I give $2 to the school, which I did. In general, it seems that most people did not consider this a big deal. Which brings me to my last point. The discussion at last week's Finance Committee on the defeated motion for a donation to the Red Cross from the general grants and aid, as well as some community feedback on this, set my mind in motion. One of the main arguments against the motion, which represented about 5 cents per person, was essentially a principle that grants must benefit the areas that pay. Yet, to my knowledge, no Lasqueti-based group has ever received a general grant because of lack of regional benefit to qualify, and likely never will. And the groups that do receive general grants rarely, if ever, reach Lasqueti. When we received the delegation from the Cathy Orchestra, I lightheartedly suggested that they visit Lasqueti sometime. While the Lasqueti community would certainly love that, it is understandably not likely to happen anytime soon for them or any of the other groups. Lasqueti has little prospect of receiving direct benefit from a general grant and aid, but could receive indirect benefit to our community well-being via support for broader scale initiatives such as humanitarian assistance to other communities. If such proposals are not supported on a principle that general grants and aid must benefit the areas that pay, then this raises a question of fairness regarding the contribution from Lasqueti to general grants and aid based on that very same principle. This isn't an issue to deal with now, but I wanted to mention it while this topic is fresh and to suggest that considering ways to improve the flexibility and fairness of our grants and aid could be a good topic for the next strategic planning. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I will observe that in my almost 20 years service, I can well understand that Lasqueti received very little benefit from grants and aid, general grants and aid. Yet they always ponied up and contributed. And I think the RD was most appreciative. Thank you, Director Fall. Okay, move on to the consent agenda. This is the opportunity for anybody to pull something if they want to, given the conditions, of course, under which you have to comply to pull it. You want to do something with it. Is there any takers? No takers. Then a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Director Brander and Director Doubt. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. That gets me to scroll way down. And where are we?
11.1.
Yeah, I'm just, there we are. Resolutions 11.1. Cathy Brown, Texada Island Nonprofit Seniors Housing Society regarding a grant and aid request. Director McCormick.
I will move the recommendation.
Thank you. And Director Gisborne. Thank you. Discussion. Director McCormick.
Yeah, thank you. I certainly think they are worthy of receiving the letter of support, but I'm also a bit concerned about the subsequent letter of correspondence, which I thought would be included in this, but I see now that it isn't, in which they're asking the regional district to partner with TINSHS on a seniors housing project to qualify for funding that has deadlines. One is June 1st and the other is July the 5th. So I'm wondering if staff have any comment perhaps on their request and how it would be handled within the regional district.
Corporate officer?
Yes, thank you. So we did talk with the social planner this week. I've shared a motion, a potential motion for that. And it is not really the motion that's on the table, but I think we can answer this question just to make sure that we address them. So I think I did speak with Mariko, and she did indicate that she could lead the grant for both intakes. And this motion has been prepared to support that if the board wants to consider it after the one on the table.
Thank you. Director McCormick.
Yeah, that was my question. So we do the first one first and then do this one? Okay.
That would be my suggestion.
Thank you.
Okay, with the motion on the table, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? None? That's carried. Director McCormick, did you wish to make a subsequent motion?
Yes. Yes, motion as posted by Ms. Jones. There it is.
Second.
Seconded by Director Leishman. Thank you. Can you put that back up, please, corporate officer, or whoever's.
Sorry, yes, absolutely.
Fine, that the board authorize a partnership with Texada Island Nonprofit Seniors Housing Society to make an application to BC Healthy Communities for the Plan H Community Connectedness and the Age-Friendly Communities Grant for their senior housing initiative on Texada Island. So everybody understand? Any discussion? Director McCormick.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to urge support of this, there's a real housing crisis and a great need as identified by the housing needs study and also by our OCP. So being able to move forward, with this would be a great step toward achieving the goal of having adequate housing for the seniors to enable them to age in place here on the island. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Director Fall.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question through the Chair, if I may, to our acting CAO and corporate officer. Could you outline what exactly this entails? I think it sounds like a good thing. It's just what exactly does a partnership mean? I mean, I can understand we'll put in an application together, we go sign it, but does that mean we administer the funding? What sort of responsibilities or obligations are we committing to?
I think we've had similar ones to for other organizations where we act as the lead agent and we do the reporting. These are rather small grants, so it's not supposed to be a huge. It's not going to be a large burden on staff time, and it will be supported through the planning service and finance services through the QRD and the social planner.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I support it.
I've read the letter and the suggested motion that we enter into a partnership ahead of time. I know that the initial cost to think about acquiring a piece of land was budgeted $128,000, I think, in the report, and that's not for constructing 40 units of housing. It would be additional money on top of that $100 and some $1,000 cost to actually create the partnership and to build it. My concern is that while it might seem that there is very little in expense and administration to do with applying for the grant, if you get the grant, I'm worried that there could be other unforeseen costs that the regional district would be picking up, and making sure the bookkeeping is correctly done, making sure all the auditing is done, making sure that all the reporting along the way and the collecting of the grant money is done is appropriate. And usually grants that large that I've seen require that the partners agree to cover any overruns in the cost. And I'd like to know if there's a way of entering into a partnership that doesn't require the regional district to partner also in cost overruns, because we'd be agreeing to do something that we don't know we're agreeing to at the present time.
Ms. Jones, can you answer that?
I think Linda Greenan would be the best person to address that part of the question.
Thank you. Ms. Greenan.
Thank you, Chair. I think we could, that's a good point that Director Doubt brings up, and I think we could put a another part on the motion, similar to what we've done with other grants that we've supported. For example, the ones that we've just supported for the 2 improvement districts, is that the board, so we could basically say that submission of the application be subject to the TINSHS entering into an agreement with the QRD under QRD terms for administration of the grant, and the commitment by TINSHS to cover any ineligible costs and cost overruns.
Can we have that up on the screen as an amendment that somebody could make if it ever gets up on the screen?
Yes, just 1 second. I'm going to just ask Linda Greenan to help me with the wording.
Let me put it in the chat. Okay.
So, so that would be that the motion be amended to add the following.
Following that, the board affirm its support for the project. And
sorry,
and then put and after project. And then that submission of the application be subject to TINSHS, TINSHS. Okay, there you go. Entering into an agreement with the QRD under QRD terms for administration of the grant. And then comma, and the commitment by TINSHS to cover SHS, to cover any ineligible costs and cost overruns.
I hope there's not a ton of mistakes in that. I can't see what I'm typing because I'm only working on one screen.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Just a few letters missing, that's all.
Okay.
Dr. Doubt, have you any thoughts on that?
I think that protects the board much better than the previous motion did.
Good. Now, Ms. Jones is sanitizing it, and when it gets back up, we'll see what we're voting on.
So this would be the amendment. So it would be to be adding the bottom 2 clauses.
Right.
And it is not fully sanitized, but it will be shortly.
I'll move the amendment.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have Director McCormick and Director Fall have moved the amendment. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? None? All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? None? Carried. Okay, on the motion as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Thank you, Director Doubt. That was a good one. Which takes us back to Sunshine Coast Tourism for destination marketing from, oh, have I missed one? Yes, I have. I'm sorry. The board, $3,000 to the Island North Film Commission for general operating costs from the General Grants and Aid Service.
Move.
Director Leishman, seconded by Director McCormick. Well, Director Leishman, you moved it. Any comment?
Yeah, I really want to encourage the directors to approve this tonight. It's a first step in, acknowledging that we want film in our region. Film can be a huge economic driver. Perhaps in the future, if a future board considers it should be under economic development service or something different, fine, we can, and the city is already actually doing a lot of in-kind staffing and support in crews and road closures and all kinds of stuff when films come to town. So the city is actually working on a bit of a policy and sort of a streamlining for film crews that want to film in the municipality. So it's something that the city definitely supports. And, this is a really good opportunity, and other communities in our AVICC region that have really embraced film have benefited astronomically from, in the tourism realm, from certain films that have been really popular in their area. Then they get tons of tourism coming to the region, to be in that area. So, and just the amount of crews that come in and jobs. The last film that filmed in our region actually hired a lot of locals to do behind the scenes stuff and on-screen stuff and catering. There was catering services. So it's definitely a really good thing. So I hope everyone can support this motion. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Director Brander.
Thanks, Chair. When this first came around, the Finance Committee meeting, I voted against it. I'm okay with voting for it. In this case, I just hope that come next year that the Island North Film Commission has a report to say what they did to promote the area.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I too voted negative when it was before the Finance Committee. I'm still reluctant to go down that road. However, I can read the writing on the wall. In this case, it's a weighted vote. Director Leishman is there with 4 votes, all of our own. And so, if no one else wishes to speak, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Now we go down to the board approve a grant to Sunshine Coast Tourism from the electoral area B, grants and aid, and this will be directors A, C, and E. No, sorry, this is all directors with an unbated vote because Director Gisborne, being the only director in area B, can't do it by himself. Okay. Was somebody going to move that one? Director McCormick. Seconded by Director Gisborne. Okay. It ties into this part 2, so I'm going to make my comments on this one because they'll also apply to the second one. I was the regional district's representative on the tourism board when the subject of the municipal and residential tax came up, the MRDT. It was contentious. It was the discussions at times got downright bitter, but those who were in favor of the tax carried the day on the basis of, as memory serves me, that this would solve all of their financial problems. And you look at the numbers involved, they're roughing around $400,000. and they're forecasting raising $425,000 in the next year. I don't think we should be supporting the tourism. So that's my comment. Anyone else? Director Gisborne?
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't aware of those discussions. I think that was before my time. But hearing those kind of numbers and the amount of money they got coming in for their from their taxation of 400,000, I don't think I can support this resolution either. If this motion passes, but then economic development, the second motion fails, I hope that we then revisit this motion, because I don't think that would be fair for Area B to contribute if economic development doesn't. Thank you, Chair.
Is there any further discussion? Director McCormick?
Thank you. And this also pertains to the second part in point 3. A lot has changed since, respectfully, you were on the tourism board. That was before Colin Palmer was there, and he was there for quite a long time. And in that time, there's this whole new social media thing that has evolved that is requiring a lot of time and a lot of effort, and to do it well. And this is, you know, this a new relationship now between Sunshine Coast Tourism and Tourism Powell River. It's a much better relationship than it had been in the past. And this is something that they're asking for us to partner along with the Lower Coast in providing the funding for. And I think it's good to give them a shot this year. This is the first year that the new executive director has been in place, and they're trying to do things differently. So I truly believe we need to give them a shot this year and see how things evolve. Let's see what our numbers look like. We can certainly measure. While Tourism Powell River does the marketing locally, the Sunshine Coast Tourism does the larger destination marketing. And we can measure that success by how many visitors come here from outside of the region. So it is measurable to see how they do, and I think we need to give them a shot. So I will be supporting these motions. Thank you, Chair.
Director Deb.
Yeah, and I'm in favor of supporting Sunshine Coast Tourism in their destination marketing. It's an economic development goldmine for this area. Our industrial and our resource extraction businesses are sunset industries, and the hope of this community is going to depend in a large part on tourism. And if we're not part of the attraction of destination marketing, which draws people here from all over the world, the various things that this board contributes to, the canoe route, the parks and trails, the various industries that are here to cater to the tourists. If we're not part of that and not part of that management, we will get left behind. This is an important economic development measure. Sunshine Coast Tourism comes to this board every year, reports what they're doing. They bring their financial statements and they talk about them. Everybody can discuss them anytime they want when they come to the meeting. And this board has a voice with Sunshine Coast Tourism. Sunshine Coast Tourism, through their MRDT, which they collect on short-term rentals, Airbnbs, provides money. I think this year it was $80,000 to a affordable housing fund on behalf of the regional district. I think you have to recognize that Sunshine Coast Tourism is providing a valuable service with the MRDT income. They have more money to provide a more valuable service, but I don't think that's a reason for the board to give up its support. So I support this motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Director Gisborne.
I have a question. Maybe it's more for the corporate officer. Would it be in order to table this motion until after the next motion is dealt with?
I can understand that, because I was going to speak to that very issue. Corporate officer.
You could table this motion. Yeah.
Okay, I'll move table. Oh, go ahead, Chair. Sorry.
Just one moment, Director Gisborne. We could table it and bring it back in the same meeting?
Absolutely, yes.
Go ahead, Director Gisborne.
I'll move that this item be tabled until after 11.2, number 3, which is the economic development motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Okay. The board approve a grant of $10,119.87 to tourism for destination marketing from the Economic Development Service. This is Directors A, C, and D. Director McCormick? You're moving it, I take it. We can't hear you, but...
Yes, I'm moving it.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Director Brander has seconded it. With only the three of us. If I can see where the other one's going to go anyway. Director Brander.
Thanks, Chair. I understand your concerns, but I agree that I think it's a good time to support Sunshine Coast tourism. I hope that next year they come around and again provide us with the good reports that they have, but also to focus on not just the numbers that have come to the area, but how the Upper Sunshine Coast has featured into their marketing. Have some examples of that, but I'm willing to vote in favor of this.
Okay, that's the three of us. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries. That brings us back to Area B.
A motion to take from the table.
I'll move to take it from the table.
Seconded by Director McCormick. Thank you. Any further discussion? Director Gisborne.
Let's vote on that motion to take from the table.
Oh, okay.
Better to have a vote on that. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Thank you. Director Gisborne.
Thank you, Chair. After the last motion, I think I know where this one's going to go. Area B is kind of the little dinghy behind the boat of economic development. We get dragged along. I still have some concerns about providing this funding. My understanding is Sunshine Coast Tourism has all this funding coming in from the taxation of short-term rentals, and they're starting to put that money towards affordable housing fund. But I have a bit of an issue with that because, well, they're Sunshine Coast Tourism. Affordable housing isn't really in their wheelhouse. So that's where I'm kind of going, well, they're getting the taxation for tourism, but they're putting some of it aside for affordable housing. But since the last motion passed, I guess I think I know where this one's going to go. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yes, I won't make any further comment on that. Any further? Yeah, Director Debd.
Yeah, no, I'll skip it.
All the vote then. All in favor? And I'll go along with it. Opposed? Director Gisborne. Thank you. Okay, moving on. We get the board, that the board approve a grant of 60, so I get my glasses on here, of $50,000 to lift for the Community Resource Center, Cothet Community Justice, and Trans-Cothet general operating costs from the Social Planning Service. This is Directors A, B, C, D, and E with an unweighted vote. Just the electoral area directors. Somebody wish to move that? Director Brander, seconded by Director Fall. Discussion? Director Fall.
Thank you, Chair. When we were talking about this, I mean, it does, we clearly didn't have enough money in our social planning service, and we need to, review that a bit next winter, or next board will have to do that. One of the reasons I didn't mind supported giving 50,000 was, this is a bit of a change, and the funding, what I said at the last meeting was there would be funding left over for the second intake. Now, subsequent during that discussion, some of that got allocated elsewhere. So I guess I have a question for the financial officer, if she may have the information. After this, how much money would be remaining in the social planning grants? I think I have an idea, but I don't know the exact number.
Ms. Greenan?
Thank you, Chair. There's $5,062 left in the social planning service.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Green. I know of that. The Skeety Food Bank will certainly be applying. Powell Food Bank and other entities may apply as well. But I still want to reiterate what I said last time. I think we've sort of put this change on lift. I would really hope that they might come to us and talk to us prior to that. Let us know how this worked, both the change in process of grouping these together and putting it to them to help us help and make it easier for us to find a way to balance the budget. And also, if there is some really shortfall of need, come to us and either apply in that second intake or let us know what their issue is. So I don't want them to suffer with some of their great services, and yet we need to find a way to balance. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel in terms of funds available. So and we've given to a lot of good projects. So I just wanted to reiterate what I had said last time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Bylaws. Election Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 420.5, 2022. That the board give first and second reading of Election Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 420.5, 2022. Somebody move that, please.
So moved.
Director Gisborne, seconded by Director Fall. And moving on, that the board give third reading. If somebody will move that. Oh, sorry, Ms. Corporate Officer.
Can we call the vote on that first motion?
I've done that again. All in favor? Opposed? None, thank you. I don't know where my mind is tonight.
I'll move that the board give third reading of Election Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 420.5, 2022.
Seconded by Director Fall. And I'm going to call, first of all, discussion. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Carry on, Director Gisborne.
I'll move that the board adopt Election Procedure Amendment Bylaw number 420.5, 2022.
Second.
This requires a 2/3. Director Fall seconded it. This requires a 2/3. Discussion. All in favor? And we opposed? None carried. Okay. Reports. Feedback letter for the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change Strategy. That the board submit
the recommendation.
That'll make it simple. Thank you. Is there a seconder for that?
Second.
Director Paul. Any further discussion? Yes, Director Leachman.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Howie and anyone else that's worked on this to get this in front of us. It's a really important letter and really great work. I'm really happy I read through this, and yeah, this is something that I've been personally has been sticking my side for about, I don't know, 12, 15 years. So I really appreciate the advocacy and the work looking at this. And yeah, I'm really happy to support this.
Thank you. Director Fall.
Thank you, Chair. I concur with that. And I just would like to ask if Ms. Howie and Ms. McLennan had any comments, both on this letter and anything else that we might do regarding this. I think the letter is important, and some of these changes are good. But is there anything else that may be involved that we might be able to do?
Okay, Ms. Howie, you're first up.
Thank you. Through the chair, yeah, I think I'll let Abby field that. She's really been the champion of this and doing the heavy lifting here, so she may have something to add.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, to the chair. I think right now, just with the federal government's action plan, the provincial government's action plan, we're just kind of waiting to see what those final regulations are going to be after the feedback's been received. And I think the advocacy work is pretty done from where we're going to get to now, and then just seeing what the final regulations are and waiting for that all to roll out. And then there is, of course, like in all the documentations, phase 2 and a phase 3. So if there's things that are lacking or gaps, there's then going to be opportunity to have further actions.
Thank you.
Answer your question?
It does indeed, and I really appreciate appreciate this item being before us.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? None? Carried. That takes us to, there's no new business. Question period.
Hello, Chair. Thank you very much. I had a question with regard to item 11.1, which was the Texada Island Housing Grant. And I was wondering the size of the grant that's being applied for in terms of monetary value.
Corporate officer? You're muted.
Thank you. So the monetary value of the grants, is that?
The grant application, yes.
There's 2 intakes. I believe the first one is 20,000 and the second one is 5,000.
Okay. So that answers my question. Thank you very much, Chair.
Good night. Okay, carrying on then to the in-camera session. How's your voice, Director Leishman?
Oh, I think my voice is okay. I move that the board move in camera and that the meeting be closed to the public on the grounds that the subject matter to be considered relates to matters covered by the community charter under section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a regional district service that are at their preliminary stages and that in the view of the board could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the regional district if they were held in public. L, discussions with regional district officers and employees respecting regional district objectives, measures, and progress reports for the purposes of preparing an annual report under section 98, annual regional district report. N, the consideration of whether a board meeting should be closed under a provision of this subsection or subsection 2, and that the board move in camera and that the meeting must be closed to the public on the grounds that the subject matter to be considered relates to matters covered by the community charter under section 92. B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the regional district and a provincial government or the federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Gisborne. You got the easy job. Okay. That all in favor? Opposed? None carried. We are going in camera. We are back in session.
Yes,
Good
Chair.
evening. The board has returned to open session and wishes to rise and report that the board engaged McElhenney to create a master plan for the Lund Sewer Service for the quoted price of $57,000 and $57,046.50 as submitted in response to the Lund Sewer System Service Master Plan request for tender. And the board authorized execution of a letter of understanding with QP 798 for a compressed work week for an employee who travels via ferry. And with that, we are adjourned.
Have a good night, everyone.